Speaking of Eurovision fans, my name is Euan, my pronouns are he, him, and joining me today is...
I'm Isabelle, and my pronouns are they, them.
So today we'll be talking about Pabandom 2023. Over the course of two heats and two semi-finals, 30 acts have been narrowed down to a final 10. That final 10 is in the running to represent Lithuania at the 2023 Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool. The winner will be decided by a hybrid jury televote system, each vote having equal 50% weighting. Voting is Eurovision style, so the televote winner will get 12 points, second will get 10, etc., and then it will be combined with the jury vote in the same way. In the event of tie, the winner will be picked by the one with the higher jury vote. The 10 qualifiers are Mario Yunus with Do What You Do, Moonbee with Rumour, Monica Linkita with Stay. You may remember her as 2015's entry, who she sang with Valdis Baumila. Fourth, there is also Polina Pauska with Let Me Think About It, Beatrice with Like a Movie, Rutamur with Solo, Il Senso with Sparnai, Petunia with Love of My Life, Gabrielis Vagelis with Šauksmas, and Justa Kraujuleta with Need More Fun. So, jumping straight into it, Isabel, what are your overall thoughts of this year's show, the quality, everything about that?
Incredible. Like just chef's kiss. Musically so diverse and so fun. I've just come off a week of like deep in the trenches of Sanremo culture and coverage, and it's its own kind of fun, right? But also its own kind of pain. And just recapping for myself all of the heats and the semi-final shows just in preparation for this video. um what a breath of fresh air coming from. I mean, Italy has a particular problem with women and female representation, specifically. But like just like recapping all of the Lithuanian heats and semis, and just I was just hit, again by how colorful it is, like how musically interesting and how risk taking, how risks are not only platformed but then also recognized and celebrated, and like often, given great scores and credit, and like you can qualify with a risk taking song, in fact you're more likely to qualify with a risk taking song at Pabandom, and so many incredible female artists being recognized, getting to actually progress to the next stages of the contest, and we've got a final that is stacked with female talent. Particularly, it's just, for me, that contrast is so glaring that's the thing that's really leaping out at me. So quality wise, stronger than last year, I think, and I really enjoyed last year's final. But I think the quality of the songs and the artists in this contest has been even higher all the way through the contest. So it's fun. It's just been so much fun.
Yeah, I think my views are really echoing you here. Just for anyone who's not familiar with the finalists, just what Isabel said about there being strong female representative. 7 of the 10 acts are female soloists, and then one is a mixed group, and there's only 2 men. So there is quite a big contrast to Italy's 5 male super final. But yeah, I also have to agree, like it feels so much better than last year, because although there were some great songs in the last year and the last couple of years, I feel like the overall quality, a lot of them were very forgettable. So I feel like the whole average quality and diversity is so much better. This final, it's so diverse. Like you've got opera, synth, like vintage style pop songs. Like there's so much variety, like, and so much depth of talent within them. Like all of the singers are great singers. There's no one that's really like, why the hell are they in this show? Although I feel like other people may disagree with one or two of those. But we'll get to that. But for me, the only thing I think is the downside with this one, and it's not necessarily to do with the quality of the songs. I feel with the quality of the show itself, it's very glaring how obviously pre-recorded the show is, because on it's record the semi-finals and the heats are recorded on Tuesday, and I feel like it does lose something compared to something that's a little bit live. Sorry, just compared to something that's live, which is a little bit more organic. The hosting, although it's phenomenal, love them. We love we love the host here, but it feels pre-recorded, which does lessen it in a sense. I feel like it's up going a little bit raw with just the beauty of a live show would add something a bit more. But again, this is something that's done from years, so I don't really expect to change. But it's something that the only real downside that I'm saying to the show this year. So, looking at the actual final 10, what are your thoughts on the songs themselves? Are there any songs that you're surprised did not make it to the final?
So, as you've already touched on, the thing that's exciting is that there's not a single song in this final 10 that is like another one. They're all completely different. There's really almost no overlap at all between musical genres, musical styles, song styles, vocalist styles. So I love that. For me, a glaring omission for me, and I don't know, it may just be that this just really hit a lot of like my kind of buttons. Matt Len, Midnight Train. Talk about risk taking, talk about musical diversity, musical interest, and musical just difference. Such a strange song in lots of ways, but in other ways I'm surprised it didn't make it in, because there was, the country element and the European folk element, those two elements fused together work so well, and I'm surprised we haven't seen that more, actually, just across Eurovision and national finals in general, that fusion of like a kind of an American country style and a European folk style, because they're genetically related, those two music styles, or those two types of music. It's just that we don't often see that fused into a single song, and Midnight Train really did it like very boldly in both of those directions, like that really American folk, American country vocal, and then the kind of that incredible drum that feels so Northern European, and just instrumentally and vocally I thought it was so beautiful. And maybe it was just a bit too weird, but I am surprised it didn't hit harder for people, because that really resonated with me, and I'm sorry that that's not in the final. I would have swapped that out. I personally love almost every song in this final. The big exception is Do What You Do, Mario Eunice, and we need a sad lad in a final, I get it. And the thing that disappoints me about Mario Eunice is that I don't think the song is lyrically good. Like, lyrically I think it's an absolute mess. It's nice to hear R&B, but it's also, R&B is really about the vocal. Like, you have to bring a brilliant vocal if you're going to do R&B, and his vocal isn't strong enough for me. I don't think that he sells it vocally enough. And then when that's coupled with the dodgy lyrics, like the lyrics are really bad. And then kind of it's got a dark kind of creepy vibe, which I think can work really well in performance, but there are too many elements that don't work, so that dark creepy vibe actually just makes me really uncomfortable. So that's a really cringy moment for me, unfortunately. And if we're talking R&B, like Torchi over in Ukraine are doing this so much better. Like, don't even bother, because it's just, I don't think it's going to win, and I don't think it would make it to the grand final even if it did win. But like, why bother when you've got Torchi doing R&B just so perfectly in Ukraine? So I mean, that's the one that I think doesn't belong in this lineup. That sounds really harsh, and obviously this is just my subjective opinion. You might be completely in disagreement with me. Everything else I think is just quality wise so high, and even if you don't like the genre that some of the other songs are in, they do their genre so well. So for that reason, I'm not surprised that Donata with Dreamer didn't make it in, especially, I mean, semi-final one was so stacked. But I am sorry not to see her, because I think that was a really charming moment. That song just really kind of won me over. But it's hard to see out of this selection. With Matt Len, I really think that like Matt Len should have made it in instead of Mario. I'm sorry. But it's hard for me to see, other than that, like who out of this selection shouldn't be in it. Like really, and like I say, it is nice to see R&B in this selection. So if that's the only reason it's there, then okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not surprised about the others making it in. They're all absolutely killed it, to be honest.
Why did I just know that you were not going to like Maro Eunice?
I have a reputation in this on the site for like, dissing sad lads. I love a sad lad, a strategic sad lad. I love a particular sad lad every now and then. It's just, to me, what all the women are bringing here and what Gabrielius actually is bringing too is just interest and quality and lyrics that even some of these lyrics are quite cheesy. Okay, like the lyrics to Sparnai are touching and beautiful but cheesy, like some of these are quite like cheesy songs. Some of them are lyrically brilliant, some of them are lyrically simple, they don't need to be more complex because the song is instrumentally so great. But to me, there's a problem when I hear lyrics that are just bad lyrics, that like need a rewrite, and then everything else doesn't make up for it, and unfortunately I think that tends to be the case more with these sad lads than with, it's almost like people have sad lad goggles on. They're like, oh, that's a sad man, a sad white man. We
Have
love
you
a
just?
sad man.
I feel attacked because you're just describing my entire music
I
taste.
know,
With me,
I know.
literally every single national final was like, oh, like what will it be? Oh, it's going to be the sad lad with the piano.
Where's the
But this
sad
time, at
lad?
least,
Like literally
it's
Euan like goes into a national final, like squirrels away and is like, let me find the sad lad. Oh, here he is. Polish him, put him on the shelf. He's my husband now.
but differently. This is at least a sad lad, not with a piano. It's a sad lad with drum and bass and a guitar.
I like a sad lad with a piano sometimes, okay? Like I think Arcade is brilliant. I know that you hate Duncan Lawrence with a passion of a thousand burning suns. I like Duncan Lawrence. Or what, oh my god, the Lithuanian, like hearing Duncan Lawrence's name like declined in Lithuanian is like the most pleasing thing I've ever heard. It's just so fun. Duncanus Laurentis or whatever. It was just so good. I love that. It makes me really happy. I just think that Do What You Do instrumentally is good, and in every other way it fails, and it's frustrating for me because it could have been a really, really brilliant addition to this lineup.
See, I feel it works for me because I like things where there is a very polished backing music and then the lyrics are a little bit all over the place because it sort of adds to the rawness, to the weirdness of it. And at
I
least
just think
that's
the
how
lyrics
I.
are, but I think the lyrics are crap. So like because I agree. I love a bit of I like a gently nonsensical lyric. I think it's really charming. Um I think the lyrics are like I don't want to get into it, but I think the lyrics are actually problematic. But I don't want to like I could like talk about how I don't want to hear anybody use the word idiot pejoratively ever again in my life. Like that's a whole other conversation. But yeah. But sorry, please let me just pass over the mic because I'm here like, no, you have a bad opinion, that bad you and bad opinions.
To be fair, I
What are
admit that I do
your
have terrible opinions. Um,
know
I
that?
feel
What are
like
your
the biggest omission for the final, not for quality or what I would want, but that I was so surprised that Antikwaryranai Kaszperiowskio Dantis. I don't understand how that didn't get to the final because that performed first it was first in its heat and then it closed the show in its semi-final. Like LRT, you just get that they want to have something weird, something out there. Literally in 2017, they held a random out of the blue second chance round so they could have Lola to Zero in the final with Get Frightened. Like the fact that they put them as last, they clearly wanted it. I did think it would get more than 6 points from the cello vote. I expected the jury to bomb it. I kind of didn't think it would get last in the juries because Lithuanian juries are known for being a bit
eccentric.
Yeah, eccentric, weird as well. Just like
Specific.
you can't exploit. No, it's specific. No, specific. You can't expect it. Like what they're going to end up liking. So I kind of thought, okay, like they're they're probably just going to put that through. So I was really surprised that didn't get through. Um, Matt Len, I also completely agree with everything you're saying. Like, yeah, I don't think it was vocally the best performance, but I felt like he had a good stage presence that I'm surprised he didn't get enough just to put it through. Um, Also, I Gibrasi, like I really didn't expect this to come second last with the televote. Like I thought that was skimming through into the final. I don't think it deserves to be there more than any of the other songs in the final. I just surprised that it didn't.
We've
And
seen a decline, haven't we, with Gabrassi? I feel like his presence in the this might be an outrageous opinion, but I feel like his presence in these national finals the last 2 years have been kind of off the back of how much people loved his entry three um
mm,
three selections ago, because last year it was the same story. I mean he made it to the final last year, but I don't think he should have. It was a really not an interesting song in any way, and it wasn't a very good. I didn't think it was a very good performance either. I just didn't think there was anything particularly commendable about it. But I feel like he floated through to the final off the back of his previous success, and then he didn't do particularly well in the final, as opposed to coming second. Right, he obviously has kind of he dropped down, and then this year it's like he could make it to the semis but not the final. I feel like maybe it's just like, look, if he comes back with something brilliant, then great. But at the moment, I don't think he's a particularly exciting performer. I don't think he's vocally particularly interesting. And he hasn't had a good song. I personally don't particularly vibe with the first song he ever, entered with, but I know that a lot of people, that's like their favorite thing.
to be honest,
I
I don't really like his first one, but that's me personally. I thought this one was the best of the ones that he's sent.
Bleak.
Um,
This one was appalling, I thought. Like, talk about crap lyrics. Like, literally, like, nobody took a second pass at the lyrics. Like, really, really bad lyrics and not a memorable song, in my opinion.
um, yeah, other than those ones though, there's not anyone I'm truly surprised. There were some things like I was really surprised that Baiba came last in her semi-final. Um, I
Me
thought
too.
she was really good. I don't think when the Let's Go Out deserved to be last. Also, I kind of did think Alan Chico would make it. Didn't think he deserved to
I,
make it,
I
but
was surprised it made it through the heat, if I'm honest. But, like, talk about risk taking, about strange perform, like, lots of different ideas going on in that number, in that song, and also in that performance, that staging. So glad it made it through to the semis. Not surprised it didn't make it through to the finals. Just a lot going on in that. But you thought
right.
you were surprised not to see it in the final. That's interesting.
Well, I expect the qualifiers in Lithuania to be weird.
The weirdest shit possible, the most risky shit possible.
Because
Yeah.
things change what have historically changed very wildly between heats to semi-finals and to finals and things like that. So like that's why when it comes to the final, like I have no idea who's going to win. So the format for Pabandom is, of course, 3 stages. What are your thoughts on the format? Because of course this is a bit longer than other national finals.
I It is a bit longer than other national finals, but I don't think it's like unwieldy. Particularly with just 2 heats instead of three. Unless I'm completely misremembering, last year there were 3 heats, 2 semi-finals, and a final. This three-step format has benefits as well. The contestants end up going up against more of their competitors across the heats and the semi-finals that they end up in, right? So it's not, it's not like heat one isn't then equivalent to semi-final one. You don't progress from heat one to semi-final one and then to the final. It's not that linear. Like, some of heat one went through semi-final two, some through semi-final one,
See,
which means
I know what you're saying, and I agree with like I like that format, but there wasn't enough of a mix up because there was in the semi-final one it was 8 people from heat one and 2 from heat two. So I like what you're saying, but also there needs to be more mixing.
so they need to actually, and I assume that it was randomly drawn and that just the random draw didn't mix it up enough. I agree with that. I think that's because I think that's the benefit to this to this system is that you can pitch more people against more other people. I do think another thing that's really fun about having a three-step process like this across several weeks is that it gives us the chance as the audience to get to know the artists and to really fall in love with some of the songs, which we maybe miss from some of the shorter formats where it's over before it's even begun. And the shows themselves are pretty tight. So that's another thing that I appreciate. I don't mind that it takes place across several weeks because the shows themselves are like, an hour and 45, an hour and 50, and that's very manageable. I think that if you're going to have a format that is just purely not a song festival, but a selection for your Eurovision representative, actually, Pabandom is a good template. I think it's a good model. I think it's better than most of the models out there, even. Something I'm a little bit mixed on is I don't know about having a different jury between semifinals 1 and 2. Like that seemed like a weird choice to me. The jury was different. Like some of the members of the jury were the same, but there was. I feel like if you're going to judge semi-final 1 and semi-final 2, it should be the same jury judging both, just for fairness, because they will have slightly different tastes and different criteria. So that feels a bit off, especially given how small the jury is. So each person on that jury does have quite a lot of power. Those are my thoughts on the format. We've already said that we love the hosts. Augusta Nombeko is such a charming host that I just like. I love her and I want Lithuania to win Eurovision so that she can host. I mean, they're all great. All three of the presenters are really good. But she's just wonderful. I don't know if it's just the fact that like every night that she acknowledges the international audience in English, like my heart just like melts. I'm just like,
because it's not just hey, English speaking foreign non-Lithuanians. It's just like it actually feels very warming. It feels like they're actually appreciative of the people that are watching outside of Lithuania.
But I think that's her. I think that's because she's really good at her job. So yeah, like adore them. Can Lithuania win so that so that they can host, please? That's
Lithuania win. Yeah. So regarding the format, I think I like having a three-stage format. I don't want them to go back to the four-stage because I think 10 shows was just too much. But I feel like, again, I've said there's not enough mixing between the shows. I feel like 15 songs in one heat is too much. I feel like if you're going to have 30 songs, there should be at least 3 shows to present them and to select from. Maybe having a system of not always like necessarily having the numbers from each heat to it doesn't have to be 5 or 10 from each heat going on semi-final or things like that. I do like having the split semi-final. I think when it was just all feeding into one big semi-final and then they narrowed down, it wasn't working, but I think the format works there. I do just want a little bit more. And I don't know if it's necessarily the format that's doing this or why it's not so much happened this year, but in previous editions, there was definitely a progression between heat to semi-final. Like there was so much, like the one that always sticks out for me is 2017 because I think that was just genuinely one of the best Lithuanian selections there was. Like you could see the artist really taking on board everything and changing how the performance works, even just like little tweaks, like adding another dancer or little things. Like there was progression between them. There doesn't seem like there's been a lot of progression between the heats and the semi-final. And I feel like if you're going to have a 3-stage format, then there should be an encouragement of like mix things up between the heat and the semi-final, because once you get to the semi-final, like realistically, you should have everything set. Like you should have the concept, like it should just be ready to go for the final. So I'm kind of unhappy there hasn't been that progression, that change up. What I really don't like about this is the voting system. Because I've just got some of the voting up here. Like in semi-final 2, Paulina got 1,383 votes, got 10 points. Beatrice got 1,342, got 8 points. Monica Nikita got 1,328 and got 7 points. I really don't think Eurovision style voting in the way that it's done for the entire televote, entire jury vote, works for a national selection. Because a national selection is not the same as Eurovision. It's never going to be the same as Eurovision. And the voting numbers are so between that final, like, but that's a difference of 3 points, which really, when you then get down to like the lower ones, that says that's between something qualifying, something not qualifying. I don't think a non-proportional televote makes sense, um, particularly when you don't have a huge amount of people voting. Like there's about 10,000 votes per heat, and I think it's losing a lot. I feel like the numbers need to be upped, especially when you have 15 people in that. Like, I really don't think it's fair on the artists to like, okay, you get 0 points, but you still got like a good few hundred televotes, which would be warranting at least something and could potentially change the lower end of those things. Because someone getting 0 points, but they may have had a couple of jury votes and vice versa, and just like switching around. And like, I don't think the non-proportional works, and that's really the only big thing that I want changed from Pabandom because I just don't think it works, and I feel like it could potentially stymie some sort of more creative ones. Because yeah, this year we've had like the more interesting ones like heavy hitters have gone through, but lots of times big interesting heavy hitters tend to be in the mid range, and that means things tend to lose out in semifinals in heats, and I don't want that. Like they're gunning for a televote or they're gunning for a jury vote for a reason. Like they should be rewarded for that. And again, because also 5 jury votes combined together, like it is quite a lot of power to those individual ones. So yeah, I just think we need more votes, and it
I'd
needs
like
to
to
be
see a
not
bigger jury
proportional.
personally,
Yeah,
like on the subject
because
of
it
the
did used to be a
voting.
bit bigger in previous editions. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's my main wish list point would be a bigger jury, just because they have so much power, each of them.
Mm. What I do like about the jurors though is that there is quite a range between the music professionals. It's not just songwriters, it's not just singers. It's like they've got different people from different sides of the industry, which I do like because there are some national selections like just see listens like half those people really don't need to be there. Like why are you just getting some random person like who has no actual connection to the music industry? Um, but yeah, but moving on to the more controversial one, top three.
Oh, I love that you think this is a controversial one. I almost feel like
Isabel,
any.
Isabel, it's you and me, and we're talking about our favorite
Oh, I
songs.
see. Oh God, yeah, we're gonna end up fisticuffs at dawn, aren't we? Oh bollocks. I no, because like looking at this list, I'm like, surely any top three out of this list is going to be non-controversial. Like there are things to commend, as I've said before, almost every song on this list. Um, and and I know that we have a range of opinions back at the site, and like looking through this, I'm like, yeah, I can see why that person's favorite. Yeah, it's not my favorite, but I can see why she's Jazzy's favorite, or Rory's favorite, or whatever. My top three, I have a really like very, very prominent top two, and then my number three I kind of had to think about a little bit, but Rutamur solo needs to win this, and also Eurovision, I think. I mean, and bear in mind, I'm a Blanca Paloma truther, right? AIA, I think, needs to win Eurovision. But like, if Ruta wins Eurovision with solo instead, great. Fucking great. A this hits so this just hits so many of my switches, right? Like a an 80s synth pop maudlin heartbroken sad butch cowboy like moment. It's just so good. It's so I'm making like little unintelligible noises. It took me a little while to like really warm to it, because I think it just sounds so much like a song from the actual 80s, which is the decade I was born in, so that shit is embryonic to me, right? It's like I like something in the cells of my body just like call it, call to it, and it calls to me. um I just She so impressed me this whole time. Like she just walked onto that stage from the first heat with this song and its concept fully formed, you know? Just, oh my goodness, from that first shot of her in the phone box, like the fact, the understanding that like a phone box in a city at night is such a kind of a melancholy 80s place to be. There's something so gay and 80s about just that initial image of her with the cowboy hat leaning against the wall of the phone box in the city, the neon lights in the backdrop that she's, and literally just like the neon sign that just says heaven. It's like it's like the essence of 1,000 gay urban midnight scenes have been distilled into this one song, both visually and sonically. And I mean, the roller skates, like, what is going on? It's brilliant. The like neon rainbow wings that she ends up with at the very end of the song, just in the backdrop, that have no direct relevance to the song. It's just, but somehow it all makes perfect sense. It feels like a dream. It feels like a gay 80s sad, beautiful butch cowgirl dream. And I just, breathtaking, you know. And the more I watch it and the more I listen to that song, the more I'm like, where did she come from? Where did this come from? Just from the very opening of that, like there's that synth, that's the incredible magical synth with that like beat. It's got so much. I'm just so pleased. I'm so pleased it's been doing so well. She won both her heat and also her semi-final. I'm anxious because she came second with both the jury and the televote in that semi-final. And so, and you know, the song that won the televote in her semi and the song that won the jury vote in her semi are both in the finals. I'm like, will she pull it off?
I do just want to point out though, although she only came second of both, she did win the entire thing.
Oh, she won the final.
So yeah,
absolutely.
so that is important to note. So like even with that.
No, yeah. So I'm hoping she pulls off the same thing again, you know, but it's like, that's how close it is, you know, that, you know, Yisenso won the televote in her semi and Petunia won the jury vote in her semi. And then she came second with both the televote and the jury and therefore won the semi outright. But like, I just hope she can pull off the same trick again, you know. I mean, I'm so happy that it's like a front runner, maybe even the front runner, you know. My early favorite and my second place, which still hot, like Justa Kraujaliite, just holds such a like dear place in my heart. I loved her entry last year. I don't know how she just keeps capturing my exact mood, you know. Like last year she said, I want to get my life, I want to get my life back with, the song was called How to Get Your Life Back, wasn't it? And, but the lyric was, I want to get my life back. So Justa last year said, I want to get my life back. And I was like, girl, same. And Justa this year says, I'm so sick of my emotions. Somebody please, I need more fun. I'm like, girl, same. She captures it. Talk about good lyrics. The lyrics to Need More Fun they're just brilliant. And the visuals are a work of art. Like, what a bold move as the singer to not even really step on stage until like halfway through the song. You know, you spend the whole first half of the song like trying to figure out who's singing because it's just these three like creepy android-like dancers. The choreography's so good though. Like, it's dance theatre, right? Like, and this is coming from a niche place. Like, dance theatre is one of my great passions. Like this staging is dance theatre and I love that. I've given up the hope that she might win because she keeps basically like coming middle of the pack. She scraped through the semi-finals. She was the last qualifier. But I'm really happy she's in the final. She's such a good artist and I just adore this piece with all my heart. And my number 3, I think if I have to choose, is Like a Movie, Beatrice. I just think it's so refreshing to hear this like rock sound, full stop, done, regardless of what Duncan Lawrence might say, done, I think, really well. It's again, like fully formed, leaps out onto the stage. Like that piece of music is just, it's radio ready. It's it does what it does so well. It's really catchy, and she's a compelling performer. I hope that she kind of does more. Like I hope she brings more guts and grit in the final, because I felt like it was there in the heat, and then in the semi, I don't know, like there wasn't quite as much kind of punch as I would have liked from that kind of a rocky, performance. But she's just really good, and it's a really good song.
So I think you've already guessed what my favorite is. So I'll just get that one away. Mario Eunice is I said I like the raw vocals. I like his stage presence as well.
Why are you
The
like this?
I don't know, I think it's the really deep voices, which also leads into my second place. I'm not into 80s music, whether it's like the 80s style or like actual proper 80s music. There's very few things that like are exceptions to that rule. I
Uh,
don't like, and I think it's fair to say like a similar example to this would be like Eurythmics with the style of Russell voice compared to like Annie
Lennox.
Lennox's voice. Like never into that. I
Mm.
absolutely adore this, and I think it's really testament to just how good a song is. If you take someone who hates the genre, not interested whatsoever, and they're actually in love with it. There's just something. She's so captivating. She barely looks at the camera. She barely like engages with the audience, and still there's just complete captivation with her. And I think the fact that she's not engaging with it also does play into that as well. It's like why it makes her still like yes, there's all this there's this melancholy, there's this nightlifeness. I can't explain. I can't describe it any better than how you've described like the setting. But it's like you're drawn to it. You're wanting to know more about what she's singing about, and like it's just perfect. And oh my god, it's so good. I would be so happy if this did win, um, because I love Lithuanian electronica. I was so happy with Sentimentai and to a lesser extent the root because I mean it's more pop than actual full electronica because there's such a good electronic scene. Some of my favorite uh, national final entries were the Saulus Kalioshes sound entries from like 2018 and 2019. This just earthy, raw, it's almost close to future funk. It's just like there's really like hyper nostalgic things, but it's the 90s sort of like electronica. And so I'm just really happy that like there's electronica in this because I think it is probably the best genre that Lithuania the genre that Lithuania is the best at. That's probably the best way to say it. And we've just not really had it. Yeah, we've now had a bit of the root, and sort of the this like jazzy electro lounge thing with Sentimentai. So it's just like I need full throttle. I just need like 10 entries of just pure electronica bliss.
I
Um,
support it.
so LRT, 30 songs of electronica, sure, please. I mean, even just like 30 Salas Clearshire songs, and I would be happy. Um, my third place, I found this really difficult. I mean, to be honest, I say this literally every single video because I can't make a decision. um, I could genuinely put every single song in here. I think the one that narrowly misses out is Il Senso. I'm just a slut for an opera in Eurovision.
Didn't know this about you. I was like fully ready to hear you slate it because like
No, I love like every single pop and opera. Sorry, opera and opera's like song in Eurovision. I've just loved. So just and I think this works really well because it's not like the other ones that have been because it's been very much like Grande Amore was really more a pop song with some opera in it.
oh god, no, it was fucking crossover. It was like
Yeah,
rock popera. Do you know what I mean? Like it was so crossover, whereas this isn't that at all. It's really it's more operatic than anything else.
yeah, and then when you compare it to like say, oh my God, I'm blanking, Corsican Man, 2011, France.
I'm so sorry, I don't know either.
That's really bad because I
2011
love
was a
this.
blur for me.
Which is like more ballady opera. So like this is just more like we've not had a group singing in this way, and I feel it's something Eurovision is really lacking because it's like I like this. I love it when there's such a big contrast between high and low art, and I would just love to see something like Il Senso right next to just the cheapest pop girly number and sandwiched before that with a sad lad. Just it needs to be something in Eurovision because it's so different, and I need that that difference. And that's not even my third favorite, so I'm just going to keep this short. It's Beatrix. It's just a banger. Like I do understand why it didn't feel as good in the semi-final because I feel like this is one where you hear it the first time, you're transported back. You've got that nostalgia, but hearing it a second time, you're not getting the same. It's not the same hit. Like you're not so. But I feel like that will work at Eurovision because most people that are going to be voting, most people that watch it, will not have heard it before.
And
So
also something like hooking into your brain is of greater benefit for that reason at Eurovision too. It's like you want the thing that you remember, the thing you're humming at half time. There isn't a half time. I'm like talking like it's football. It's not actually football. It may be my favorite sport, but it's not actually football. But you know what I mean? The thing that like when you go and grab your drink from the kitchen or pop to the loo, the thing that you're humming, like you want, that's the thing that you're going to remember when it comes to voting. And yeah, I think
when you've
probably
still got
also
that
for
tune
me,
in, when you're listening to like two songs past, and you've still got that banging, like
you've still got it in
which
your
I've
head.
had with this song.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love that. There's
it's
also,
good.
I think, possibly the thing that this may not be correct for you, but for me, I think it's a fact that I don't expect this genre from Lithuania.
No, same. I didn't expect it.
I don't even really expect rock of any kind from Lithuania. Like this is kind of like poppy punky kind of rock, but it is rock. And so I think that's why it like hit me so hard the first time. And so yeah, maybe that's why the second time I was like, oh, I mean, it's just a rock song, you know, it's not groundbreaking or anything. But the first time I was like, it was so unexpected that it hit me. But again, that's a really good, you know, that's a good, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. I expect to enjoy it in the final more than I did at the second semi.
And I feel I also like will concede this is not going to hit people who are not of my or your generation. People who are probably just a little bit older, a little bit younger, are not going to feel the same way because they weren't around or really like cognitive in that like pop culture during early to mid 2000s. So, but this feels like the song that you would get in the main moment of a rom com, like coming of age song, and just like it makes me want to watch those films. And
Oh,
that's
I
why I
love
love it so
that.
much. But I feel it's not probably not going to hit people younger. But frankly, I don't care what young people younger than that
It's
like.
got some
Um,
retro kind of energy though, like just because it is kind of in a lot of ways there's like there are some classic like rock and roll vibes in it that I
mm.
think that, you know, it's possible that people of older generations might enjoy as well. But I know what you mean. It's a bit more niche interest in a way. But I mean, you know, like I would have thought that So Low would have been a niche interest. And like I love hearing you like describe your enjoyment of it because it's a no-brainer for me. It's obvious that I would love solo. Like electronica is like one of my favorite genres of music. Like most of my favorite acts are
Oh,
electronica acts.
don't
Like
get me wrong. Electronica is like
synth
the thing,
pop
but
is
it's
like
that
my
specific like
thing.
80s one. It's never interested me. So that's why it's just
That's
like
my
yeah.
shit. That is literally my main shit.
Mhm.
Like 80s electronica is it for me. It's like where I live. So it was always going to grab me. I I love when a song transcends its niche interest
Mm.
because it's just so good. And this is what I'm always getting at with like whenever we talk about national final selections and, you know, song selections for countries in Eurovision is if a song is really good enough, and good is a nebulous term, but if a song is good enough to transcend, like a song can transcend its genre to appeal to people who wouldn't normally be interested in that genre if it's good enough, which is why I get frustrated when when artists and countries, particularly in delegations, try to craft a song for Eurovision or try to select specifically for Eurovision, because it ends up being a race to the bottom. You end up in a race to like the most AI generated sounding song, the most decided by committee sounding song. Sweden, Norway this year. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear songs that you think are so good that you want them to represent your country, not songs that you think will win Eurovision or you think will appeal to the most people at Eurovision. Because actually, most of our winners, not all of them, but most of our winners, you know, our Eurovision winners are songs that are niche or should be niche, but actually for some reason or for a mixture of reasons end up hitting, you know, way outside of the confines of their genre appeal, and they capture a moment, or they capture the imagination, or they're just so good. And everybody ends up like loving them, even though they've never listened to that kind of music before in their life.
I think also what you're saying is like with wanting those niche songs, those are the songs you also continue to listen to. When people say it's like, think of years like 2016 where everyone said like, okay, we need to have this one because it'll be so great for Eurovision. But then it's again the Race to the Bottom is just the most dull, samey song whatsoever, and it's just no one listens to those songs anymore because they were
Because
just in the moment and boring.
and you
And
can't tell
yeah.
them apart from their competitors. Like you
Mhm.
can't remember which one was which. They all blur into each other.
Mm. But yeah, those are top three. So the final important question: who do you think is going to win, and do you think any of these songs could do well?
Like you said, anything can happen. This is Lithuania. I really, really hope Ruta wins, obviously. I also will be, I think I will be like surprised if she doesn't. And I think I will be very disappointed if she doesn't, because I think that really all the odds are in her favor. And I think she's the winner out of this bunch. That said, like I can see I can't really see Censo winning just because I can't see them winning over the jury at this point, like as strongly as they've been winning over the televote. But I don't know, like Petunia has a really good song. She's very complete as an artist, as a as a package.
What I
And
worry about Petunia though is now that we've got Alika, there is a direct competitor. There's
oh,
not just like a strong female vocalist.
I actually disagree. I don't think Alika is a patch on Petunia. I think Petunia eat, mops the floor with her every day of the week. Don't let Yannick see this video. I think that the main Ruta's main competitor, actually, the thing that might come in and sweep, is Like a Movie. I think Beatrix could do it. So and I would prefer to see solo at Eurovision. I don't. It sounds mean. I don't want Beatrix to win. Like it's quite exciting, but I don't want it to win. That I think that's the song that I see potentially being the surprise. Doing the surprise week. I don't really see any of the others. I don't see any of the others posing a threat to her. Am I
But
wrong?
again, this is Lithuania. I think I think if they were to go to Eurovision, which I don't necessarily think they're going to win, but just you never know, it's Lithuania. I feel like Gabrielis and Paulina could reach top 10 in this year
Yeah,
because they're great vocalists, and
yeah.
there's not that many phenomenal vocalists this year so far. Yeah, we don't have all the songs. We've got like about 14, so like this might change. But there's not that many great vocalists, and feel like any song that wins is going to easily sail into the final because it's not a strong
Ooh,
semi-final.
I don't think Mario. Yeah, I just don't see Mario qualifying if that wins. I just can't see it. I
But
can't see it.
compared to what else is in that semi-final, there's
Yeah,
not
maybe.
really
Yeah,
anything of that tone. And I feel like the fact that it's a different tone, although he may not have the best performance.
I'll be so angry if I mean, with a lot of ifs, but if he were to win, if he were to qualify, and people were to be like, yeah, that's cool, because like people made such a fuss when Jérémy Makiese qualified for Belgium last year, with Miss You, even though that was R&B done beautifully, superbly. This song, Do What You Do, has the most in common with Miss You of all kind of recent Eurovision songs that I can think of. And Jérémy Makiese executed it perfectly. He has the voice of an actual angel, and people were really upset about that qualifying. So if yeah, I just don't want to see this qualify without people getting upset about it. There'll be some uncomfortable conversations to have if that happens, but there's a lot of ifs there. I don't think
Yeah.
that Do you really think Mario is going to win out of this lot, Euan?
No. I
No.
think it's going to
Who
be
do you
either
think is
Rita or
going to win?
Beatrix, and I do think both of them are in a contention for top five in Eurovision as a whole.
Agree.
Like I feel like for different reasons, like I feel like Beatrix, it could be one of those that start. There's not really much in the way of that sort of tone, and the fact that also Ruta, there's not a lot of strong female soloists at the moment. So I feel like they're probably the best bet is going for a female soloist. Um,
Solo particularly is so
yeah, so
memorable.
it stands out for so many different reasons, and I think that's the best thing. But yeah, that's all we have time for. We could probably talk for another 2 hours about this, but we will get in trouble if we do. Thank you so much for watching today. If you liked our video, please follow our channel. And if you do disagree with any of our points, please let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'll probably disagree with them all because let's face it, you're just going to be disagreeing with my comments. We will be following Pabandom and all the other national selections, and I will actually be live tweeting it. So if you'd like to hear any more of my opinions on the show, just follow our Twitter. But yeah, you can follow us on that Eurovision podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and also that Eurovision site for all the latest news to that Eurovision site on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.